Good evening, everybody. This is Reality After Darkness. Literally, we're in the dark, and this is nighttime. This may even sound a little like ASMR. So, for those of you that's your thing, well, here we are. So, it's been a little bit since we've put something on YouTube or even our iTunes podcast platform or any other platforms for that matter. Co-host and I have had a lot of things coming on strong. Just a lot of different priorities have come in, but the show must go on. So here you are with me, Emily Styles, and it's been crazy. Where do we begin? We're gonna just talk some regular things going on in the world. We've got some P. Diddy. Is it a scandal to keep us distracted and busy? I mean, just me sharing. I don't know the details. I've seen a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things, but none of this is anything that I have confirmed personally. You know, and I won't mention any other celebrity names because I hear people are getting sued or told to edit or remove certain names. So Diddy, I don't know what it is, but you know, whatever happens, may it work out the way it's supposed to in favor of those who have been victimized and such. But, part of me thinks that this is a distraction to something much bigger. I can't help but feel as though, every time we have an election in our country, the shit hits the fan, so to speak. So this is reality after darkness at night, after hours. We're just chilling, me, myself, and I with you all. And I just can't help it. Every time there's always a scandal, there's always something. There's a lot of rumors and TikTok and Instagrams about all these different things that may or may not be happening, right? So nothing that I'm saying here is concrete. And this, show is just us, playing devil's advocate, asking questions, seeing what it is that's going on in the world. But it seems that there is a pattern usually around this time of year. And the pattern is that things go crazy right before an election, or at least it's been that way for the last few elections thus far. Excuse me. Oh, I'm so cozy that I'm yawning in your ear, and I'm so sorry, everybody. But it seems like just craziness. We've got hurricanes that have been hitting the United States full force. Prayers go out to everybody involved, anyone who has lost their lives. Our heart and prayer goes out to y'all and your family. I pray you get the help and the resources necessary, but it seems like our resources are tied up in foreign lands, fighting things and giving money to things that are not serving the American people directly. And from what I've seen, they're quick to approve things to ship money overseas, and there's not enough for our people here. And another thing I've noticed is how powerful these hurricanes have become in the last decade or so. Scientists have been sharing that in 1947, if I'm not mistaken, there was some technology being worked on for seeding clouds to help for droughts in places where water was not really common. More desert type areas. For instance, you've got Dubai, though. Dubai is a man made place, man made island. Recently, in the last few months, I believe, from what I gather from the images that I had seen online, that they had over calculated the amount of rain that they were doing. They were cloud seeding there, and they got in an hour and a half or so about a year's worth of rain. And of course, Dubai was not prepared to handle so much rain. For those of you that have not seen that, I mean, I'd urge you to just check it out if you don't believe that there's any chance that weather can be modified, or clouds can be formed or enhanced to bring water to regions that normally wouldn't have much water, if any at all. And also, I believe the possibility that this same science, the same technology can be used to enhance tornadoes, I'm sure, fires, or even create fires, and even hurricanes become from a 1 or a 2 to a 4 or 5, causing major damage, major panic, death, and destruction. It seems almost like humanity is being attacked on all platforms and all avenues. You can see that our food, if you live in the United States, you know what I'm referring to. Our food is expensive, and it's worse and worse. Organic is still genetically modified foods, GMOs, if you will. When an orange looks like a boob, it has a lump more on one side than the other, that's been modified. If your fruit have no seeds in it, that's modified. The fact is that for years, corporations, I won't say specific names, but they've patented seeds and different fruits and vegetables that they created or recreated in a lab somewhere, and they put them out, and sometimes having caused issues with organic farmers in the area, causing the spread of chemicals, toxins in different farms' soil and what have you, link to a lot of cancer and a lot of toxins, or being sprayed like bugs from above. Our water is completely saturated with chemicals and fluoride to unalive us. Certain words are triggers for the algorithm and for AI, so I'm very mindful of setting triggers off. But I think it's important, especially with a show like this, that we share the truth of what's going on in the world, but specifically in the States, right? The US of A, good old America. I wish that our food was not tampered with, that we didn't have to worry about patented seeds as our food, because supposedly pests and pesticides would not be as needed, and food will last longer on the shelf, or in our frozen or fridge areas. We don't need these things to last long. What we need for them to do is make things affordable, make things natural for us, stop spraying us from above, because that stuff is landing in the soil. The soil has been depleted. We have not given our land rest, our mother earth, Mother Nature, needs rest. The soil needs rest. We cannot keep tilling and pulling and pulling and pulling and not allowing the entire earth to just rest. So, biblically speaking, because that's a frame of reference that I currently have at this moment, there were 7 years of growing things, and then you take some time off and you let the soil rest, or 6 years for growing and 1 year. So it was almost like the Sabbath day of rest for the earth, the land. So I believe, again, forgive me for saying the seven, but seven is so significant throughout so many writings and literature that have to do with the Mosaic or the Abrahamic religions. So 7, so 6 out of those 7 years, the farmers would do what they had to do. They would harvest, and then they would let the land rest. Just like on the Sabbath, animals and the earth should be resting. Now, if anybody remembers, during 2020, the pandemic, quote unquote, air quotes, I can't prove that, so I will not get myself flagged. But what happened in 2020, for a few years where we were locked in our homes and everything, there were 2 weeks out of that time, from the middle of March to the end of March roughly, that people were really home for the most part. You still had truck drivers and the essential workers out there, but you would even see in countries where there was so much pollution, the air quality was getting better, our oceans were getting nicer, everything was getting better. So the mere fact that we went back to business as usual since then, you can see that the earth is kind of rebelling against us. All of us, we're not treating it the way it needs to be treated, like a living organism that also provides for us. We just keep taking, and again, the soil is depleted. It's lacking minerals. And so the fruits and veggies we get in the supermarket, a local supermarket, they don't particularly have everything that we need in it. But it's not just our food, it's our entire system of health and wellness as well, which again is not really for our healing and health. It is for us to maintain, put a band-aid on our issues, and no medical professional that has gone to the traditional program funded by we know who. We can't really share too much of that here again, but this system was built upon a medication to sustain us, to keep us ill, never giving us the solution or the quote unquote cure. And then many holistic practitioners that were coming out and they were voicing the truth behind the whole thing and voicing their opinion on what other alternative routes can be taken to promote good health and to restore our bodies, because our bodies are an amazing machine, amazing temple that was created to heal itself and to regenerate itself. But they do not want that. And I say they with air quotes because, for the most part, people have stated it's this family and that family. There's 13 families. Then they say 1,000 families, and they say 1%, and they say this and they that. But at the end of the day, ultimately, we really don't know the origins and the depths of the particulars on this. Some people out there may know. I do not know, and I genuinely don't think I need that information right now. But I do know that all these little things are designed to keep us ill, keep us subservient, keep us dumbed down, not asking any questions. And Christ said it best, or the scripture said it best. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Knowledge, right? Wasn't that what Solomon asked for wisdom? And he realized that all of it, it was all vanity, that none of it mattered. The material, he had everything, King Solomon. He had women and concubines and all this stuff. He had the army. He had the temple, his mansion palace. Excuse me. He had it all, and yet he said it was all vanity. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose their soul? And this isn't a preachy thing. This is just a right and wrong, right? Because we were all born with that intuition. For the most part, there are some that do not have that intuition, and those are people who cause harm to others and do some really horrific things. But those that have a conscience that is working properly, so to speak, quote unquote, because I guess properly would be according to your society norms, but not unaliving people is a good thing. Not for fun. It's not a hobby, and there have been a lot of these people that have unalived others. And for those of you that don't know what unalived is, I cannot use specific words because they will get triggered on here. They will get triggered on TikTok and Insta and so many other platforms. So unalived is exactly what it sounds like. You're getting, so, you're getting axed. So basically, the information has been suppressed for generations. And now that people are waking up and people are coming to know the truth and what have you, and those with a pure conscience, they're saying this is not right. We're being unalived every day by the food that we're being given, by the medical treatment that we're being given. Even our work life balance is out of balance. There's no such thing here in the States. You work until, if you're lucky, 67, maybe 70. You get a little ramen noodle, and maybe you can be in a senior citizen complex. If you're lucky, a golf cart, with your dentures sitting on a table next to you while you have your pudding. You know, it's a shit show. Who the hell wants to work until 60 something, 70 years old if you haven't just dropped but before then? Like, who the hell wants to work that long? And who created this whole system to begin with? It wasn't we the people. Because we the people would love to be with our families, would love to travel and explore the world. We would love to read books, write books, go to shows, poetry, draw, color, laugh, have a picnic outside, go to the beach, etc. Live life, enjoy good food that isn't unaliving us or causing ailments. They're shortening our lifespan, and yet so many are still sleeping. And we fight amongst each other over things that really, again, like King Solomon said, all vanity. At the end of the day, all we need is a roof over our heads, food, good food, love, fresh water, peace, joy. Like, these types of things are priceless. Why are we striving so much for McMansions and cars? At the end of the day, so many that have obtained these things have been empty or have found that it was not fulfilling, and they get into other things. Hence, the news today with all of Hollywood, or much of Hollywood, under the lens and being scrutinized at this moment. Everyone a potential suspect. Is that the life you want? Not saying that having a nice living is bad, but stating facts. How many cars do you need to drive? One, to get you from point A to B. How many houses do you really need? I get it if you're an investor and this is how you make your living and you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. I get it. You invest and then you reap what you've sown. But ultimately, all of us think about how many pairs of shoes do we need? How many pair of pants or dresses do we all need? And pocketbooks and sunglasses and hats and gloves and boots? How many? And how many times do we really get to wear everything in our closet and drawers? I'm talking about myself included. Again, I hear the echoing of it is all vanity. I hear that still. What does it profit a man or woman, or they, to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Now, for those of you that are not familiar with this story, the adversary, aka what the religious would call Satan, according to the story, Jesus Christ, which that was not his real name, but the man they call Christ, had mentioned a scenario where he was tempted by the adversary, and he was very respectful. He said, "Thou shalt not tempt your Lord, your God, the Lord your God." And he was referring to the Heavenly Father, of course. While he was physically in the human body, he was not talking about himself. In that moment, he's talking to the Creator. I'm not trying to confuse you guys or give you a Sunday school religious teaching. But what was interesting was that he offered Christ in this story the whole world, and he asked Christ to bow down to him, and Christ denied him. So how can you offer Christ the entire world, everything in it, every kingdom and every power, dominion, rulers, all these things, principalities? How can you offer that to Christ if it was not currently yours to give and distribute? So what we're seeing today is a complete demonstration of what that looks like. I will give you everything your heart desires, everything you've ever wanted, but bow down to me. And you hear stories of people signing their soul away, contracts, and they have to pay the piper. And a lot of them die young, or they are unalived some way young. They expire young. I'm trying to figure out words to not trigger too much of anything, but are you guys following out there? I need to check up on you guys. Are you still awake? Are you still with me? Or are you, in a deep slumber? Because ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you. So, what's happening is those that are in darkness, the things that were hidden, are coming to the surface now. Age of Aquarius, where again, my frame of reference is the Christian God, the story, because it seems to be being played out, and it seems to be the one that's always mocked everywhere. You don't see so many religions and cultures mock any other group of people but this specific group, so it makes you kind of question and wonder. But Christ told his disciples when it was the time for right before Pentecost, I believe it was. Do not quote me. You guys do your due diligence, do your homework, please. But he said, meet me in the upper room. There you will find a man pouring out a pitcher of water. Now, this was not literal. This was symbolic. He was telling them to look to Aquarius. Now, in the astrology and the religious sector, if you will, I think it's called astrotheology. You guys can look into it. There's a lot of good information out there. But again, use your discernment, use your good judgment is what I'm saying. To check, do your homework, filter things that don't resonate and that do not make sense to you. Don't take anything I say or anyone else for that matter as 100% factual. Do your own fact checking, research your own stuff. You can disagree with everything I'm saying here, but when he mentions to them, go and look and blah 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 and meet me in the upper room, there you will see a man. This is Aquarius, just like throughout the other biblical references. He's talking about astrology as well. And you, as soon as you study it and you read it, you'll say, wow, I cannot believe all these years I've been reading the scripture this way. There's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And these 4 represent the cardinal signs in the astrology. The cardinal signs are Cancer, Libra, I want to say Capricorn, and Aries. Yes, those are the 4 because they're the beginning of the season when they change. Cancer is the beginning of summer, so it's about June 21st that the Cancer season kicks off. Libra season is when fall kicks off. Capricorn is technically when the cold, brutal winter kicks in. December 21st, around the solstice, give or take a day or two. But around that time, I think it's the shortest day of the year. And then you have Aries, which is the beginning of spring. Also, when you plant and you harvest 40 days roughly after that season has begun. So you get the first fruits, okay? The first fruits comes right after that. Pesach, Passover, all of that is connected. Now, those are the 4 horses and the horsemen in the apocalypse. And then you have the other 4 signs that are with it. You have the fixed signs, which are unmovable, is what this refers to. You got Leo, which is the face of the lion. You have Taurus, which is the face of the bull. You have Scorpio, which in ancient times they used the face of an eagle. And the 4th last but not least, Aquarius, which is the face of a man. So in the book of Ezekiel and in other books in Revelation, they talk about a four-faced creature and the different things going on in the apocalypse. The horse has this, and that coming. Then the other one has pestilence, and this, then the third. Everything connects to the seasons, the astrological things, and the animals are described in the stars, in the Mazarot or the calendar or the astrological calendar. And this is all not something I'm making up for fun because I have nothing else to do. You can find this yourself and you can research it, and so much of this will come to life when Christ talks about making people fishermen of men. I'm going to make you fishermen of men, right? Is what he's telling his 12 disciples. 12 represents the zodiac. 12 brothers. And Joseph had 11 brothers. He was the 12th. That was the 12 signs. And they each had the tribes. They each had a stone that went with them. We all have a birthstone. If you were born this month out of the year, you have a birthstone. So all of these stones make sense and they connect to a zodiac or a tribe, quote unquote, tribe of Israel. Now, you also have the 12 disciples. Each of the disciples also corresponds to a specific zodiac sign. So when Christ is talking to his disciples, he's saying, I am going to make you fishermen of mankind, of men and women, of humans. And it was because he was talking during the age of Pisces. That's why people, if you see a bumper sticker with a fish on it, it's not just because Christ made these guys fishermen. No, it was because they were living in the age of Pisces. And Abraham in the scriptures was living during the age of Aries because God told him, according to the story, to sacrifice his son. And instead, a ram came and he offered that as a sacrifice. That was Aries, the ram. And if you look at astrology, it is a ram that is there to sacrifice and what have you, which was what the representation of Christ was as the suffering one. But let's continue with the time that Moses was living and he was in Egypt and all that craziness happened in Egypt. The time that Moses was living was the time of the bull, which was Taurus. And the reason you know this to be true is the Israelites, when Moses went up the mountain, he went to talk to God, and I think he was there about 40 days, and they got desperate. They said, he's not coming back. We need a new God to worship. And they had idols of all sorts. So they gathered their gold and their silver and what have you. I believe it was mostly gold because that was what this book says. They created a golden calf. And when Moses finally comes back, there's all sorts of debauchery and craziness going on, lawlessness going on when he comes down from the mount, from AKA the mountain, and he crushes these tablets up against the earth, and about 22,000 roughly people were eaten and they were taken, like the earth swallowed them whole, right? Because it was like an earthquake and they all fell in this crack. About 24,000, give or take. I don't remember the exact number, but there was a golden calf, and the reason being is they were worshiping the stars above the heavens. So we're not to worship these things. If you do believe in the Christian faith, we're not supposed to worship these things, and yet we have images of all of it, and people are still worshiping and sacrificing to these deities and these entities. But I shared that so that you can pay attention to what's going on in the sky, what's going on our earth, what's going on television, to our food, to our bodies. There's a lot of things going on, and it is a spiritual war, if you will. It is to keep humanity where they are, but the age of Aquarius is a major shift, and everything we see going on currently, the chaos, the craziness, the Diddy's, the Epstein, the Weinsteins, all the Steens, all of these stories, the Trump and Kamala and the hurricanes, wars and rumors of wars, all this stuff has to happen this way, because that is the only way that this darkness will be exposed, and the children of light, or the people of light, if you believe in any of that stuff, the good people, the good guys and gals, will be able to stand up and say, see, this is what we've been trying to tell you this whole time. Those that have been mocked and called conspiracy theorists, those that have been silenced, many have been unalived for being holistic and having wellness information on healing ourselves, or people exposing the dangers of all these things that have been happening with hadron colliders and portals and all kinds of stuff going on. All of this had to happen. Just make sure that you are not fighting amongst each other. The real enemy is not physically here. It is spiritually around us. So if you believe in prayer and manifestation and asking for something, ask for this stuff to be exposed and brought to the light so that we may be set free from the system that has kept us all in darkness and in bondage. Hopefully this episode has helped to bring a little bit of light. And this is not fear propaganda. Fear mongering, and this is not propaganda. I'm telling you guys things so that you're not afraid, that you are aware, you're informed that things are gonna happen. There might be aliens, quote unquote, landing on the planet or at war with us. Who knows what they're gonna come up with next? Just know that the technology is real. The technology, they have technology more advanced than what we've ever seen, far beyond our comprehension. And it's old, it's not even that new. So everything we see today is probably 100 years behind, or 50 years behind, if I can say that. They have stuff way more advanced. We're just not privy to seeing it or knowing it, so that we can think that it is the gods returning or the Anunnakis returning to save the day. But the deities that had ruled and power, they had ruled us and they have power over us, were not good. And they're still the ones that are in control and have us all as captive today. If you don't see it, I ask that the blinders will be removed from your eyes and that you will truly see. Do not fight with each other. Fight the true enemy that is not visible. And that enemy is those that rule from behind the scenes. The ones in darkness. We ask that those be exposed. And I ask that you all remain safe. If you live in a hurricane area, please be safe. If you're ill, there are a lot of natural remedies that can help you build your immune system so you can fight the good fight. Have faith, because faith alone will help transform everything. Believe that you are healed and you will be healed. And transform your thoughts and your mind. Don't live in fear. And again, thank you all for listening. And I ask that you all remain safe, hopeful, positive, and do your research. Good night, everybody.